Welcome to our Tell Us Your Story series. Here we spotlight inspiring success stories from criminal justice professionals who have taken their experience with our training from classroom theory to real-life application in their cases and communities. We are inspired by the work you do and know that by highlighting your stories, more lives can be saved. I'm Kathryn Bracho with the National Criminal Justice Training Center of Fox Valley Technical College. Thanks for joining us for another episode in our Tell Us Your Story series. Today, we're sitting down with Greg and Missey Smith of the Kelsey Smith Foundation. Greg spent nearly 2 decades in law enforcement, but he and his wife, Missy, became advocates for child protection and change after their daughter, Kelsey, was murdered in Overland Park, Kansas in 2007. We want to welcome now Greg and Missy. Now, we know your work with the Kelsey Smith Foundation begins with Kelsey, of course, but it extends around the country. We want to start by getting to know who Kelsey was. Would you tell us about her?
Kelsey was in a unique place in our family. She was very outgoing. She could make friends real easily. She was involved in everything, whether it was her little brother's grades or whether it was choir and band at school.
Kelsey was very outspoken. If you didn't know what she was thinking, give it a minute, she would tell you. She wasn't afraid of letting anyone know anything.
It sounds like she had an amazing personality. I know this must be difficult to talk about, but can you tell us about Kelsey's disappearance?
On June 2nd, 2007, in broad daylight, Kelsey was kidnapped from a local department store. We didn't know where she was for 4 days, and on the 4th day, her body was recovered, and we found out that she had been sexually assaulted and strangled to death.
She was abducted from the parking lot of the department store. We started looking for her. She was supposed to be back for a date with her boyfriend and didn't get back to the house on time. So calling her, texting her, she wasn't answering. So her boyfriend and our second oldest daughter went out together to see if maybe they could find her car. And they were driving around in the area where the store that she had been at, and her car was actually located across the street at the mall. At that time, that's all we knew, was her car was there and she wasn't, and we had no idea what had happened or why she wasn't responding or anything.
Kelsey was only in the department store 11 minutes, and her abduction took 16 seconds.
I'm so sorry for your loss. Obviously, your lives changed in a major way when that happened. As parents of 5 and with your nearly 2 decades as a police officer, Greg, how did this change your purpose in life?
Oh, her death obviously changed our lives. I hated getting my picture taken and being on camera, and here I am doing this interview and every interview I can to make a difference in someone else's life. We have changed a law in 31 states to be able to access cell phone location information, and that law is saving lives, and we've seen the faces of people that it has saved lives of, and we've heard stories of lives that were saved because her life wasn't.
Once we started digging into it, cell phone location information can be released by a cell phone provider at their discretion. But it's entirely up to them if they want to do that. That's federal law. And the Kelsey Smith Act applies at the state level so far. 31 states have passed it. And basically all it does is change that language so that instead of a cell phone provider may provide that information, the law changes it to say a cell phone provider shall provide that information, and it can only be released to law enforcement, and the only thing that can be released is the location of that device.
And the reason we went that route is when Kelsey was missing, we could not get our cell phone provider to release where the location of her phone was. Her boyfriend came to me and said, "Ma'am, my uncle says we can ping her phone." Little did we know that was going to be the phrase that changed our lives forever, because I started contacting our cell phone provider, who basically just said to me, you can look online and see what activity has occurred. And long story short, 4 days later, they finally sent an engineer out to the tower. The engineer narrowed down the path of where to look for Kelsey, and her body was found in 45 minutes. I told them I was going to come back to them and find out what was broken that night when Kelsey was missing, because they failed her and they failed us as a family.
That is incredible. Let's switch gears. Cell phone data and digital evidence obviously played a critical role in Kelsey's case. And Greg, I know you took our mobile device investigations training course. How did that course impact your work with the Kelsey Smith Foundation?
That mobile device training that you all put on was really good. It was actually one of the first courses that I ever took on that subject matter. I've taken several since, and I went up there to Wisconsin and took the course, that pilot course. The instructors were fantastic. I got to talking with the instructors on breaks and stuff. Just had a really good relationship with them and learned so much in that course. It really kind of was the grounding I needed to take me in the other areas where we needed to go.
Tell me more about that.
The mobile device course is really good. It's a really good grounding on how those cell phone towers work, how a signal comes in or out of that tower, how a cell phone makes contact with that tower, how it handshakes and says, hey, I'm over here. All of that information was very, very valuable. It was stuff that I didn't have. It was just kind of, I was looking things up online and trying to teach that information to myself. And the instructors were just fantastic at laying all that groundwork out on this is how they work, this is why it does this, this is why you have to know which sector of a tower the phone actually made contact, because yeah, it's 360 degree coverage, but there's 120 degree pi wedge sectors, and so you have to know which sector it's hitting so you know which direction to look. And back in 2007 they actually sent the engineer out to the tower, and he said, okay, yeah, go that way, and you should be going in the right direction. And like Missy said, 45 minutes later, Kelsey's body was discovered where we spent 4 days looking for her, and if we'd have just had that information, it wouldn't have been this long, drawn-out ordeal.
You guys are in a unique position. Law enforcement background, you're advocates for training and policy change, and you're family survivors. Considering those dynamics, do you recommend these resources to other law enforcement agencies?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, it's probably one of the best courses I'd ever taken. I'd be interested now even to go back and take it again, because it was before the Supreme Court ruling on the Carpenter case, which really impacted cell phone location information and how you could access that information. I'd be interested to see how the course has evolved with the differences in the court rulings that have come out since I took the course.
In addition to the mobile device investigations training, you also participated in our Amber Alert CART tabletop exercises. Can you share more about that experience?
The reason I wanted to be there is to give the family's perspective. When you have law enforcement going through it, they may not know some of the things to look for or to be cautious of. The other thing it did is it provided lifelong friends for us. When I first got involved, there were several family Amber Alert roundtables that I had attended, and I'm still in connection with several of those families. And one of my favorite people in the whole world is Ron Laney. I just love Mr. Laney, and we met him through Fox Valley, and whenever we're going to be at a venue where I know he's going to be there, I make sure to seek him out and say hi. He's just one of the best individuals ever.
You're absolutely correct. Ron is such a valued member of our NCJTC team. So bringing all of the training together, how would you say these resources support your mission, or what value do they bring to your work?
There's perspectives that I never thought of as a law enforcement officer until this happened. So now I can speak to law enforcement and say, hey, here are some things that you need to consider. There were things that I did in cases like this in my past where I thought I was doing a really good job. And now after having been through this, I probably didn't do a very good job, and I just didn't realize it because I didn't have the experience or the knowledge of what the families were going through.
It put us in touch with legislators across the nation. When we meet individuals at the trainings, they say, oh, we need that in our state, and they help us to get it passed there.
Yeah, and it's It's gratifying to be able to be part of presentations that you all put on, and to be able to talk to law enforcement and give our perspective of what happened in Kelsey's case, and then things that we've learned from other law enforcement officers around the United States that have had these types of cases. We were actually spoke at the National Missing Persons Conference. We were very grateful to be part of that and to be able to present and talk to law enforcement about some of the issues that they may come across.
Greg and Missy, it's clear that Kelsey got her strong will from you both. What do you think she'd have to say?
Oh, without a doubt, Kelsey would be proud of what we've done, but knowing Kelsey and her attitude and all that, the other question would be, why don't you have all 50 states yet?
Yeah, she would be, we got 19 more to go.
Thank you both so much for sharing your experience. Do you have any other reflections related to NCJTC training that you'd like to share with others in law enforcement?
The only thing I can say is I would highly recommend the courses that you guys have in this area. And I think it helps. You guys have done a lot of things online now. You've got online courses and things like that. And that's great for access. While those are good in getting the information out, the actual connections that you get to make with other classmates and talk to them about, hey, I've experienced this, or have you thought of that? And that kind of connection comes from those in-person classes. So I really like those the best, but the others are great at being able to get out and make contact with as many people as possible and get that information out so that officers have those tools that they need.
As you can see, Greg, Missy, and the rest of Kelsey's army are not only honoring her life through advocacy, they're also an excellent example of how law enforcement training and collaboration are critical to case outcomes and protecting our youth. To see their full story, please click the link below or visit ncjtc.org/tellusyourstory. If you're inspired by what you've heard today and want to share your own success story, we would love to hear from you.